Hi guys! Happy Sunday! It is super bright and sunny here in southeastern Michigan, but don't let that fool you. It is 20 degrees outside, so pretty cold. It is finally February, and I'm super excited about that because that just means it's one step closer to spring. So this is my knitting and crochet vlog where I talk about all the works in progress that I have and the finished objects that I've done throughout the week, and just some crafting plans that I have in general upcoming. So this week I've been focusing on finishing up my daughter's sweater, and I worked on another colorwork hat. Now I'm really starting to get into colorwork, and that's kind of crazy for me because I've kind of avoided it in the past just because I don't even know why. Well, I can't say that. I do know why. Because whenever I would work colorwork, I would find myself getting frustrated with floats and carrying. Do I carry? Do I catch the floats? Do I do this? Do I do that? So I've found that my approach that I've been taking to kind of ease myself into color work and just kind of slowly gain experience and be more comfortable with it is turning out to be the right approach for me. Well, I guess I should show you this. I really love this hat, right? So this is the hat that I finished this week, and this is from the same pattern as last week. It is Anthology by tincanknits. Now, the really cool part about this pattern is it's basically like a choose your own color, basically choose your own everything, right? Because the pattern has a bunch of different motifs that you can swap in and out. It comes with both a hat and a cowl, and I just threw these motifs together and I really do like it. And I especially like the colors, which is kind of a surprise to me because neither one of these colors are really a color I prefer. I am much more of a pink person, but I really like the way that these look together. So I worked on this on Friday night. Now, last week, I noticed that when I made my colorwork hats, my ribbing was kind of, it didn't look right to me. So it wasn't really pulling in, just a tad. So whenever I look at a hat, I would want the ribbing to be at least even with the hat, and mine was kind of flaring out. So for this hat, I actually swapped down needle sizes. So I worked on the hat using a size 5, the colorwork part, and I did the ribbing, which is twisted, with a 4.5. Now, I do like the way that this looks better. So I am going to have to say that from now on, I will probably swap down needle sizes, especially for things like sleeve, cuffs, hat, ribbing, basically just for ribbing. Yeah, I should definitely do that. I think that it came out much neater. So I've learned quite a bit, and I'm gonna turn this inside out and show you. The floats on this are not very long, so there's not much catching going on, but I do like how stretchy it is, and there's no bunching from the color work, so I consider that a plus. I'm thinking that the next thing I'm going to start looking at is doing jacquard, what is it called? Jacquard floats? Is that it? I'll put it down below. I can't remember, but it's a certain way that you catch floats, and it's almost like double knitting, and I've never done double knitting, so I need to learn basically how to catch these floats in preparation for doing larger items or items that have, you know, longer floats. I really want to get a good solid foundation, and I think that hats are the perfect kind of canvas to try out all of the things that I want to try out. So I'm also thinking that maybe I'll introduce 3 colors and kind of force longer floats while I'm doing this, but I guess we'll see. I'm definitely going to keep using this pattern because, like I said, you can swap the motifs in and out and make a million different combination of hats. So it's not like you have to keep making the same one over and over again. But I was very happy with that, and I'm happy with how it came out, and I'm happy with, well, pretty much everything. We live in, I don't know if I mentioned this, we live in southeastern Michigan, and my husband said that if the orange color was a little bit brighter, it'd be tiger colors for all you baseball fans out there. But I don't know. There's something about this like orangey brown color that just reminds me of fall, like pumpkins. And I didn't expect the blue to match so well, but it did. So that was a happy coincidence. I have been, this yarn, I should mention the yarn, right? This yarn is Cascade 220, and I have basically a tote bag with a couple of different colors. I think I have like 5 or 6 colors, and I've been grabbing from the tote bag and just using it to practice color work and make some hats. I don't have a lot of colors that I would prefer to knit with, but I'm trying to knit down and knit from stash, especially for color work and especially for like larger weight than fingering, because I have some worsted and probably bulky weight yarns that I just want to get rid of. And when I say get rid of, I mean I want to use them up, you know. There's no use that there's no use. They serve no purpose just sitting around. And I would like to turn those into hats for my kids or any of their friends or anyone who needs hats. Now this is my second finished object. This is the Bloomsbury Kids by Svetlana Volkova. I will put the names down below for both the pattern and the designer. And I finished this. Now I love the sleeves on this, and I love the way it looks at the front. Now this yarn is Pearly Haze from Hobbi, and this is a chainette tube, and it is wool and nylon, I believe. And if I'm wrong, I'll put it down below, but I'm pretty sure that's what it is. And the thing about this yarn is that once you wash it, it turns into such a drapey, like it's so drapey. It's almost impossible to show on screen, but you're gonna have to take my word for it. Now, oh, let me show you the back. Now, I've knit myself a cardigan out of this, and I'll show you this in a second. It's right over here, if you can see. But, so I'm going to give you an update on the wear of the cardigan and everything and how the yarn wears, but I'm a big fan of this yarn. It softens up wonderfully after you wash it, and the drape is just so awesome. Now, I'm going to put some pictures up here of my daughter wearing this, and it fits her pretty well. This was the Bloomsbury Kids. There's an adult version for larger sizes. This was size 8, and she's like she's getting to the point where she's almost out of a size 8, but this fits her pretty well. I'm curious because I have the Bloomsbury. I'm wondering where those sizes start. I haven't checked, but I'm hoping that I'll be able to make her this whenever she grows out of this one, make her this pattern again. I really do like it. Okay, so let's talk about the yarn. So I do like this yarn. I bought it from Hobbi when it was on sale. They run sales pretty frequently, so if any of their yarn ever seems expensive, just wait a week or a couple weeks and it'll go on sale. So this is a chainette tube, and while you're knitting with it, it's pretty soft, and then as soon as you wash it, it just, the drape that just appears in your garment when it's done is just incredible. And even my daughter says, wow, Mom, that's soft. Now, let's talk about wearing, because that's important, right? Nobody wants to spend a ton of money on, well, it's not a ton of money. I think like I bought that for, it was around $5 USD for 50 grams. So it's not a ton. It's not super inexpensive. So you definitely want to make sure that it's going to wear well. So let me show you this. This is my See You There cardigan. And as you can tell, it's knit from the same yarn as the sweater I just finished. And it's very incredibly drapey. And I wear this all the time. I'm pretty sure every time in the last... I'm pretty sure that I've probably worn this, like, I would say 6 or 7 times in the last month going out. There is a little bit of pilling. I would, let me see if you can, there's just a teeny bit of pilling. I would consider that pretty reasonable for a very well-worn sweater though. And I've never pilled it, or I've never de-pilled it. Another thing that I like about this sweater in general is that it's knit with worsted weight yarn. See, you can see a tiny bit, like the little fuzzies. Another thing that I like about this yarn is that this is worsted weight yarn. It does not feel like it. It is super light, and it's very, it manages to keep me warm. Like, it's been snow. I wore this when it was snowing out, so it manages to keep you warm, but it's super lightweight. Does that make sense? It seems really weird to say. I would consider the amount of pilling that I've got on this garment to be pretty reasonable for the amount of times I've worn it, the fact I haven't de-pilled it, and it's holding up very well. So I'm really happy with it. I would definitely use this yarn again, like I did right here. And I will, I will probably look into using it in the future if I need another worsted weight yarn. Of course, I have, like I said, I have stash to go through, so it'll be a little bit, but I'm definitely liking how this wore. Ooh, trying to fold it up. It's all slippery though. Like I said, the yarn is super drapey. Okay, I definitely wanted to show that to you because I find it useful. I can say that like a yarn is super drapey or super soft or just, I can say all those things while I'm knitting with it, right? But like, what about in 4 months from now? How's that same yarn still looking? Well, in this case, it's looking pretty good. So just in case you were wondering. Now, I cast on a big project. So I've been talking about how I'm going to knit my mom a cardigan. And I picked Irish Gold from Joji Locatelli, and I'll put a picture up here because my Irish Gold is like a little baby Irish Gold, so you're definitely not going to get anything from how it looks from my work in progress. But let me show you the schematics on this. Okay, so this is just the instruction page, what is it? I want to say ingredients, but it's not that. It's basically everything you need and just the schematics for the pattern, so I'm not giving anything away here. But the schematics will show that the cardigan is very simply shaped. So it is this, if you watched when I was knitting the Like a Cloud, it is the same kind of construction. So we've got a back piece, and then after we knit the back piece down so far, I believe right past the armholes, then we pick up the front on one side and knit down to past the armholes, and then pick up the other side and knit down to past the armholes. Now, there is no neck shaping, so the neck is kind of like this. Does that make, here, look. Look at the picture one more time. Do you see how the neck is kind of like a V? I'm not even sure what to call that, but that's what the garment construction is. So the neck is like a V, and it just comes down and kind of like sits around your neck. So there's no shaping there. So overall, I'm pretty confident with my start on this cardigan. I am really liking the kind of the rhythm. There is some lace that's involved and it's not too hard, and I appreciate that. Now, the pattern says to place 1 marker. As you can see, I did not pay attention to that. I put a marker after every pattern repeat because that's just who I am. So you can see right there just a teeny tiny bit of lace, and I mean the rest is just the lace repeated, and then in between it is just stockinette. So this is the back. Now this is knit in fingering weight yarn, and this color is black number 1 from Blackbird Sycamore yarns, and it's my favorite tonal color. And I am knitting a size 6. So I'm really excited about making this for her, and I was talking to her last night and she's pretty excited about it too. And you can kind of see how it looks there. You can see the lace down the back, and I'm pretty sure there's lace in the front too. But it only shows the back on the pictures that I have. I'm thinking that since this is it's gonna be an easy pattern, right? We've got, it looks like, yeah, it's drop shoulder, and we've got that easy lace pattern, and just in between that is just stockinette. There's not much shaping, and I mean, I'm thinking that when we go and take the kids on our vacation, then mini staycation, like a 2-day vacation, that I am going to be taking this pattern with us because I'm pretty sure I'll be able to knit on it and that won't be a big deal. However, I'll also probably take a muscle burrow just in case, right? Because you never know. But that's going to be a long-term project, and I'm going to kind of knit that interspersed with other things. I've been working on a muscle burrow hat, and I've also been doing and practicing color work. So that's what I'm going to talk about now because I have a couple of things that I want to show you. So Pom Pom magazine, if you heard, they just released their last issue, which is pretty sad. So I went and purchased the issue, and I'm going to be honest, the reason that I purchased the issue was because of the cover. Now, I really like this sweater. Yes, this sweater. That's the words I need. And I like it because it looks really complicated. And it obviously is really complicated, but it's really cool, right? And it actually comes with trousers too. So there are a lot of really neat patterns in this issue. It was a very good issue, and I'm sad that it's their last issue. But let me see if I can find the one that really, really stuck out to me. Where is it? I've got to get to the front of the book where all the pictures are so I don't give away any of the patterns. So take a look at this. Since we're talking about color work, isn't that beautiful? I hope I'm showing it right. Yes. I think that's so pretty. I was reading about it and it says that it's steeked. So I'm assuming that, maybe I shouldn't assume. I'm thinking maybe, I don't know. Maybe it's the arms that are steeked. But it's just so pretty. Like I said, this was a really, really good book. A really good magazine, and I'm really sad that it's gone. It seems like, in my opinion, a lot of knitting and crochet magazines are going out of business. Look at this one. That's beautiful too. So in this episode, they're basically paying homage. Okay, pretend I said that word right. In this magazine, they're just, it says an ode to wovens. So all of the projects and patterns in here are inspired by woven garments or woven objects, and I think that that's so cool. There's a really, really pretty vest, and I wonder if I can find the scarf really quick. Yes. I thought this was awesome. Could you imagine how much time that would take to do? You have to knit all of the strips and then weave them in this pattern. Beautiful. Anyways, getting that in the mail made me happy and sad both at the same time. Another book that I wanted to show you, and this is specifically about color work and me trying to be more interested in color work and just kind of up my game with color work in general, because that's one of my knitting goals this year. So I have this book. Now it is Alternate Rebellion by Anna Bauer. Look at the patterns of the outfits that the people are wearing on the cover. Now you can look at the other side too. This book has a bunch of really fun motifs in it. And I'll just like flash one really quick. See, the book is full of that. And there are all sorts of different motifs, and I believe it comes with 6 or 7 patterns, and the patterns have the same idea as Anthology, right? So it's going to give you instructions for, say, a cardigan or a sweater, and then it's going to tell you the different types of motifs that can fit on what part of the sweater you're knitting or the hat. So you can have 6 count motifs, or you can have a 12 count motif. It's really neat. And the thing that makes me most excited about it is kind of building my own cardigan here. I've looked at the instructions, and they do recommend steeking for a cardigan, which makes total sense. But the problem that I have with steeking is a lot of the fingering weight yarn that I have is superwash. And steeking and superwash kind of scares me, because you're going to have to reinforce it, and I can't use a sewing machine because of, well, yeah, basically, I can't use a sewing machine, at least not the one that I have. I'm sure they might have an adaptable one, but I don't have the ability in my ankles to push down on the pedal and use a sewing machine. So I'd have to figure out a way to steek without using a sewing machine and still reinforcing it. Look, I wonder if they have a way to deal with the floats in here as well. I've had this book for quite a while, and I try to go through my knitting and crochet books and get rid of the ones that I'm never going to use. So a couple of years ago, I went through and donated to a thrift store all of the crochet or knitting magazines and books that I didn't want. I cut down on the amount of books. I have like one shelf in a bookshelf just for knitting books, and that's it. So if I have a book, it's like, it's an important book for some reason. And I like to keep it that way, because otherwise I get very overwhelmed and there's just too much. And I really want to keep the books that are going to be useful to me and kind of give away the ones that aren't. But my plan has always been with this book to pick out some motifs and make a cardigan. Now, whether or not I'm going to be able to do that this year, if I'll get that good at color work, is up in the air. And especially with steeking. Maybe I'll try a pullover first. But maybe I will try a pullover first, because I definitely have more superwash color, more colors of superwash than non-superwash yarn. But then color work looks better in non-superwash, so it's a conundrum. I do have some colors of non-superwash though, but I do love all of the colors here. It's such a cool book, and they have so many cool patterns. They've got skulls, They have bees and cats and monkeys and bikes and bows and a magic 8-ball. So like anything that you could think of. They've got peace signs and cactuses, rabbits. You know, they're not your typical motifs that you'd normally find in knitting books. We've got safety pins and arrows and acorns, just a bunch of random stuff. And you know what? I appreciate that. Some of these are really neat though. Like, I should take some and maybe next week I'll try to make a hat from here. Because who doesn't want a hat with some of these different motifs on them? Skulls and cows. Anyways, I'm sorry. I'm getting all caught up in that. I thought that that was a fun idea. I like to show, and I really do like that book because I think that it gives you a blank canvas to like be as creative as you want on it. And that's one of the reasons I love the Anthology pattern, because it's one thing to just knit a pattern, and there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, I love just knitting patterns, right? This pattern is beautiful and I love doing it. But I also like to just take some time and kind of, I mean, just take some time and be as creative as I want with a blank slate that somebody else just gave me instructions for, because I don't like coming up with instructions for stuff. I think that that is all of the knitting and crochet. Well, there's no crochet this week. I'm sorry. I've been so excited about learning color work that I haven't been thinking much about crochet. Although I did do that dress, and that was a lot. That dress was quite a bit, so I think I'll be okay for a little bit. Okay guys, that's all of the knitting and crochet that I have this week. If that's all that you're here for, thank you. I appreciate that you stopped by. If you did find this video kind of fun and you haven't yet, please hit the subscribe button or give the video a thumbs up. I would appreciate it. For anyone else who is sticking around for books, thank you. I appreciate it as well. So this week I've read one book and almost a second book. So the first book that I read is Just Another Missing Person. And I believe it's from Gillian McKerney, although I could totally be getting the name wrong, so I'll put it down below. And that was a very good book. You know, it was, I don't want to say it's lighthearted because it definitely was not lighthearted, but compared to the books that I normally read, it was lighthearted. I appreciate taking a break away from books that are way too heavy. And this was definitely a more lighthearted book. It was about a police officer who screwed up a missing persons case a year ago because her daughter did something and she had to kind of, how do I explain this? So the police officer did something to get her daughter out of trouble, and it screwed up her entire demeanor, and she messed up this missing persons case, and it's a year later now, and there's another missing girl, and now they're blackmailing her to charge this other guy with the murder of the new missing girl. And it's a lot, and it's a big huge mess. And I mean, throughout the whole book I'm just like, hey, you know, if she had just told the truth in the beginning instead of covering up for her daughter, they could have avoided like this whole thing. So, I mean, it was a good book, but that was kind of my take on it. I am now currently reading and almost done with Just the Nicest Couple. by, oh, I have no clue who it's by, so I'll put that down below too. I can't remember. Mary Kubica, I believe. Anyways, that's a hot mess of a book. That's pretty much all I've got. They're not the nicest couple. Spoiler alert. It's a very bizarre and a thriller, I guess. Is that what you would call it? Probably, maybe. Anyways, that's all the books that I've been reading lately. I'm spending more and more time studying for AWS. I am on 57% of my course. So that's exciting. And we have a sunny, happy day outside. So that's part of the reason I'm filming in the morning today. I'm hoping that we get to go outside, and I mean, it's 20 degrees outside, so maybe not, but it's worth a try. So if you watched last week, I was going to check out a gate harness system, and my husband and I believe that this should work pretty well for me. So we're going to get the ball rolling on that with insurance and everything. So keep your fingers crossed for me. This would allow me to basically walk around. I don't want to say walk around. Use a walker to navigate the kitchen and the living room, hopefully, without falling because you're wearing a harness while you're in a walker, basically. So I'm keeping my fingers crossed because I'd really like to be able to do like mundane things like sweep and cook. Our kitchen, our house was built in the 50s, and our kitchen and a lot of our house is not very ADA compliant, especially like some of the doorways are really narrow and shouldn't be that narrow. I had to look specifically and find, I am using a child's wheelchair. Well, it's more of a teen wheelchair. It's got a 16-inch seat, and I fit in it fine, but like that's what I needed to get for the house so I could get into like all the rooms by myself. So if you ever are in the market for a new house, always be mindful of random things like how wide doorways are and how narrow hallways are and things like that, just because you never know, and one day you might need a mobility aid or something. And when we moved in here, I think 15 years ago now, I was completely walking and fine. So that was definitely not something on our radar. And now I kind of regret it. We're going to have to kind of get some of the doorways replaced, and just eventually we'll have to remodel the kitchen so that we have cabinets that I can like wheel under so I can wash the dishes sitting in a seat, because otherwise I have to kind of like turn my legs one way and like this, and it's a mess. So anyways, that's everything I've got this week. We had a very fun time going to the gate harness system place. We went to a physical therapy place that was in Holly, Michigan, which is quite a bit away from us. And on the morning, because we had an appointment at 10, so we left here like at 8:30 in the morning. We should have had more than enough time to get there, but it started to snow as we were leaving. And it wasn't just any snow. It was quite a substantial amount of snow. So as I'm sure it is with everybody everywhere, here in Michigan when it snows, there are two types of people on the road. They either go too slow or too fast. And we are driving down the expressway and huge semi trucks are speeding past us. And I kept like looking at my husband and going, they can't stop that fast, can they? Because it was slippery out. I was watching cars like slip and slide in front of us, and we saw multiple people like slide off the road. There were cars that were turned around, like they would have had to have spun out and like off the road. Whenever we got off on the exit for the physical therapy place, we got stuck going off the off-ramp because you couldn't see any tire tracks. You couldn't even tell where like the road was, and my husband misjudged where it was and ended up kind of halfway. There was like a 6-inch drop, so he kind of ended up in the ditch there, and he had to get out and dig out the tires from the snow, and it was a mess, and I'm glad we made it there, and I'm glad we made it back safe. Next time, I will definitely cancel any appointments if I have to go anywhere when it's snowing that bad, because I hadn't thought of it at the time, but I definitely should have stayed home that day and just rescheduled it. Part of me hadn't wanted to, though, because I knew that they were doing us kind of a favor showing us the system, so I didn't want to kind of bail out on them and say, well, can we come a different day? Because, like I said, they're doing us a favor. But that's pretty much it. It's February. I don't know what day it is. I'll put it down below, but it's the first Sunday in February, and I'm super excited, which means we're one step closer to spring. Thank you guys for stopping by this week. That's all that I have to share with you. I hope that you are having an amazing start of February, and I hope that you have a great week. If you remember, please hit the like button or hit the subscribe button if you'd like to see more. I'll see you guys next week. Thanks. Bye.